Good evening and welcome to the Connecticut Department of Transportation Public Information and SEPA Scoping Meeting for project number 156-181, replacement of bridge number 00162, Interstate 95 over Metro North Railroad in West Haven. My name is Leslie Ruiz, and I am a project engineer with the department. We hope this presentation will be informative and we are able to answer all your questions and concerns about the project. Before we start with the presentation, I would like to go over the 3 different means of communication currently available to ask questions. After a formal presentation, we will host a live question and answer session. During this time, you can contact us by sending an email, by leaving a voicemail, or if you're watching this presentation on MS Teams, you can post your question in the chat window. The team will monitor the project email, voicemail, and chat platforms during the question and answer session. All questions will be posted to MS Teams and will be visible via the chat window. After the presentation, we will read all the questions and a team member will provide a response. As I mentioned on the previous slide, we have 3 means of communicating with the project team: by email at dotproject156-181@ct.gov, by telephone at 860-944-1111, or by using the chat function on MS Teams. A recording of tonight's presentation, including the question and answer session, will be stored on the project webpage. The webpage can be found at portal.ct.gov/DOT-WESTHAVEN-156-181. And please remember that you can ask questions or provide comments through October 29, 2021 via email or telephone. The MS Teams chat function is only available during tonight's live question and answer session. I would now like to begin the presentation by introducing the project team. With the Connecticut Department of Transportation, we have Bart Sweeney. His photo is in the top left corner of the presentation, and he is the Division Chief of Bridges. To the right of him is Lou Bacho, our Principal Engineer in Consultant Design Bridge. Next to Lou is Al Garcia, our Project Manager, and my photo is at the top right corner. As I mentioned before, my name is Leslie Ruiz and I am a Project Engineer. The photo in the lower left corner is Kevin Fleming from the Office of Environmental Planning. He is a transportation planner for the department, and he will be explaining the SEPA scoping purpose for this project in a few minutes. To the right of Kevin is our consultant designer, Julie Georges from ADC's Associates. And Julie will be presenting the proposed design for this project. Next to Julie is James Platoche from HDR, and he is our design build consultant. And next to James is Jennifer Usher. Jennifer is a project manager for BL Companies, our consultant liaison engineering firm. Tonight, Jennifer will be the MC for the question and answer session at the end of the presentation. We would like you to know that no person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project, and that there is a civil rights flyer available. We will also greatly appreciate if you could fill out the voluntary post-meeting survey the department has through SurveyMonkey. The result of this survey will help us improve these meetings going forward. The links to both the civil rights flyer and the survey are located on the previously mentioned project webpage. A recording of the formal presentation will be posted to YouTube after the live event. Closed captioning, including non-English translation options, will be available at that time. La grabación de esta presentación estará disponible en YouTube al finalizar el evento virtual. La misma tendrá disponibles subtítulos y traducción a otros idiomas. And now Kevin will explain the SEPA scoping process.
Thanks, Leslie, and thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Kevin Fleming, and I'm a transportation planner here at DOT in the Office of Environmental Planning. And as mentioned, we're here tonight for a joint public information SEPA scoping meeting. So what does that mean exactly? What is SEPA, and what do we mean when we say a scoping meeting? Well, the Connecticut Environmental Policy Act, or SEPA for short, provides a process for the various state agencies to follow in order to identify and review any action that may have a significant effect on the environment. Essentially, the core purpose of SEPA is to provide a public process to identify and assess the extent to which a proposed state action may affect the environment, and then also to evaluate alternatives to avoid or minimize such impacts. And a really important key component of SEPA is the public's opportunity to review a proposed project and to provide feedback. So your feedback here is not only greatly appreciated, but it's also a very critical part of the SEPA process itself. While conducting our review under SEPA, we're required to consider both the direct and indirect impacts that a project may have on a really wide range of physical, natural, and socioeconomic resources. Now, what you see here isn't necessarily an all-encompassing list, but it should give you a pretty good idea of the types of resources that we have to consider under SEPA. As you can see, we have to consider things such as impacts to cultural resources, impacts to wetlands, impacts to state-listed species, impacts to public health and safety. Then also we have to look at things such as, does the project comply with the state plan of conservation and development? And does it comply with any state, regional, and local land use plans? So now that you have an idea of what SEPA is and what we have to consider as far as the environment goes, what exactly is meant by the term scoping under SEPA? Well, scoping has a really specific definition, and the process involves a very defined set of steps for public outreach. Under SEPA, scoping is defined as the gathering and analysis of information that a state agency will use to establish the extent of environmental review for a project. So basically, it's a way for us to get information so we can determine the proper level of environmental review needed for a project. And this process begins when we publish a notice of the project in the Environmental Monitor. The Environmental Monitor is an online publication run by the Connecticut Council on Environmental Quality, or CEQ. And that publication kicks off a minimum 30-day public comment period. For this particular project, we published the scoping notice back on September 21st, and the comment period runs until the close of business on Friday, October 29th. The idea really is to solicit comments from the various regulatory agencies, such as the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, Department of Public Health, the State Historic Preservation Office, among others, as well as the various municipalities and the public, to really identify any potential alternatives, and then also to identify any specific environmental resources that need to be analyzed in the project area. Obviously, as you know, often the local community has a really good understanding of the project area itself, including not just the resources in the project area, but also a good understanding of any of the potential community concerns or issues. So ultimately, this process will help us to determine if there are any significant environmental impacts associated with the project, and if there's a need to undertake a detailed and comprehensive environmental impact evaluation, or EIE. Here's a very high-level chart of the SEPA process. It shows where we are currently, and those are the boxes that are outlined in red, and then it also shows what the next steps are. As I previously mentioned, once we determined initially that this project was subject to a SEPA review, we went ahead and published a notice of the project in the Environmental Monitor back on September 21st, and that officially kicked off the scoping phase of the project. So just an FYI, for this particular project, we're required to undergo a SEPA review because the project involves adding additional vehicular lane capacity to a bridge. And anytime a project adds lane capacity to a bridge, we have to undergo a SEPA review. So once the scoping period ends, we'll go ahead and review all of the comments we received, consider any environmental impacts, and then determine if any of the impacts have the potential to be significant. And then based on that information, we'll determine if an environmental impact evaluation or an EIE is required or not. Now, an EIE is a very detailed and comprehensive document that analyzes any significant environmental impacts and also compares the impacts of any alternatives considered for a project. And once a decision is made on whether to undertake an EIE, that determination will be published in the Environmental Monitor again, along with a synopsis of the comments we receive and our responses to those comments. Now I'll hand it back over to Leslie, who will go through the specifics of the project itself.
Thank you, Kevin. On this slide, we are showing the project location. The project is located between First Avenue, Route 122, and the West River Bridge on Interstate 95. We have outlined the project location as depicted by the red dashed line. Here is an aerial photo of the project location. First Avenue is to the left, and West River is to the right of the image. Interstate 95 is the gray linear area that curves in the middle of the photo. Once again, we have outlined the project location as depicted by the red dashed line. During this presentation, you may hear us use terms that aren't necessarily familiar to you. We thought it would be helpful to introduce you to some of them. In this illustration, the deck, which is shown in light green, is the surface that is used by motorists to cross the bridge. The parapets, which are shown in dark green, are safety features that are in place to prevent a motorist from falling off a bridge or any other elevated structure. The deck is supported by the girders that span from the abutment, shown in light red color, to the piers, shown in light yellow color, and both the abutment and the piers are type of substructures. The existing structure is a 6-span steel girder superstructure supported by reinforced concrete abutments and piers. This bridge was constructed in 1956 and was last rehabilitated in 1988. The average daily traffic at this location of Interstate 95 is 136,900 vehicles per day, and this count is based on our 2017 traffic log. And it is showing the north bridge is 466 feet long, and the curb-to-curb roadway width is 88 feet. And this photo shows a different view of the structure. The photo to the left, span 4, shows the girders in a light yellow color being supported by the piers. The photo to the right, span 1, shows a closer view of the girders resting on the abutment. You can also see the rusting and section loss along the middle girder, which is the location of the median along the bridge. The purpose of this project is to address safety concerns and structural deterioration. Some of the structural deterioration can be seen in the photos to the right. The top photo shows areas of heavy rust. The bottom shows section loss at a girder. The functional obsolescence of this bridge, including the deck geometry and current southbound congestion, will be included in this project. For this project, we will be using the design-build method, and now Julie will explain the proposed design.
Thank you, Leslie. My name is Julie Georges. I am with the firm of A. Caesar Associates. Our firm is developing the base technical concept, commonly called the BTC, and the request for proposal, called the RFP, for the design-build team. The design-build team will prepare the final design documents guided by the BTC and the RFP, as well as build the project. As Leslie noted, the purpose of this project is to address the safety concerns of I-95 in this location and the structural condition of the bridge. Leslie noted the primary deficiencies on I-95, which can also be described as the condition of the superstructure of the bridge, the backup of the exit 43 southbound off-ramp, the narrow shoulders, and the exit 43 northbound on-ramp acceleration lane. These deficiencies help to define the project goals. So not only do we want to replace the superstructure, we would like to reduce the length of the bridge and the number of spans to reduce the maintenance cost of the bridge once it's replaced. We would also like to maintain the access roads under the bridge. We want to ensure that the standard interstate shoulders are provided. We want to provide an operational lane between exit 44 on-ramp and the exit 43 off-ramp. We want to obtain an adequate roadway cross slope. We want to ensure that the northbound exit 43 on-ramp acceleration lane is adequate. We want to make sure that 3 lanes of traffic can be maintained in each direction during construction and that we minimize environmental impacts. This is a conceptual view of what I-95 would look like from an airplane in this area if all those project goals were achieved. The orange represents the new bridge. The yellow represents the new widened highway, while the green represents the new fill slopes. In blue is shown the watercourse called Club Creek, which is just north of I-95 in this area. The red line depicts the existing right-of-way lines. The bridge crosses 4 tracks of Metro-North Railroad. The bridge the length has been reduced from its current 466-foot 6-span bridge. The access roads have been maintained. The bridge has been widened approximately 40 feet to the north, along with the corresponding highway. To the south, the bridge is widened approximately 20 feet. The widening provides for the new operational lane and for wider shoulders, both inside and outside. You can see that the project is contained within the existing right-of-way. This slide shows the existing cross-section of the highway at the top of the slide, as well as the proposed highway cross-section after the project goals have been achieved, to the bottom of the slide. As described previously, the bridge is widened approximately 60 feet. You will notice that a new operational lane has been provided to allow for better traffic flow in the southbound direction between the exit 44 on-ramp and the exit 43 off-ramp. You can also see that widened shoulders have been provided. These are standard shoulders for an interstate highway, which provide breakdown lanes in the event of an incident. From here, I would like to turn it back over to Leslie. Leslie?
Thank you, Julie. On this next slide, we're going to be talking about the utility coordination and the environmental permits for this project. For utilities, we have started coordinating with United Illuminating. As you can see from some of the previous photos, their transmission towers and lines are fairly close to our bridge. There will be coordination with Metro-North Railroad as their tracks are located under our bridge. And we will coordinate with our illumination and incident management system groups about their conduits for lights and cameras at this location. For environmental permits, we have the Connecticut Department of Transportation Flood Management General Certification. We have the United States Army Corps of Engineers pre-construction notification. And we have the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection, General Water Resource, Construction Activities, Wetland, and Water Courses. And for rights-of-way, we have no temporary or permanent impacts for this project. At this time, we are anticipating construction to begin in the fall of 2023 and be completed by the end of fall 2026. We are currently estimating a construction cost of approximately $85 million, which will be paid for with 100% state funds. No funding will be required from the town. Please note that the schedule is preliminary and is predicated upon the availability of funding. At this point, I will turn the presentation over to Jennifer, who will be the MC for the question and answer session.
Thank you, Leslie. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Usher, and I will be the MC for tonight's question and answer session. Thank you all for attending tonight's presentation. As discussed, we are in the initial stage of design development, and we want to take this opportunity to engage the public in an effort to answer your questions, as well as hear and consider potential concerns. That being said, there are multiple ways to submit questions or comments should you have them. The first is by email at DOT.TROJECT156-181@ct.gov. The second is by phone. You can leave a voicemail at 860-944-1111. Please include the project number and location in your message. And finally, you may also use the MS Teams live event chat. As a note, this function is only available during the live presentation. The comment period for this project will be open until October 29th, 2021. I would also like to encourage attendees to take the brief voluntary post-meeting survey at the SurveyMonkey link found on the project webpage. The information in this survey will help us improve our public outreach on future presentations. That webpage can be found at portal.com/DOTWEST-156-181. As a reminder, YouTube live participants will not have access to the MS Teams live event chat and will need to submit any questions they have using the email or phone number. The email address, phone number, and project webpage link can be found in the description. As a note, the webpage link is an active link, but if you wish to send an email, you will need to copy and paste the email link into your preferred email platform. Next, let me provide a brief explanation on how to use the MS Teams live event chat. In this format, you can ask a question by clicking on the question mark, which is Show Q&A. This will bring up your live event Q&A field. Select the Ask a Question button that you see at the bottom right of your screen, and a field will pop up where you can type in your question. And then you can either hit Enter or the small arrow button to send. You can also check the box at the bottom to post your question anonymously if you would prefer. There will be a slight delay, but your question will appear in the featured section with all other questions that are asked this evening. Please note that the MS Teams chat function will only be available during this live session. And finally, one last item we'd like to make a note of is that during the Q&A session, questions will be posted to the Q&A chat field of the presentation. A moderator will post these questions to the MS Teams Q&A chat, where they can be viewed by clicking on the Featured tab that you see on the image in the middle of your screen. Thank you so much for your patience while I ran through those items.
Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate your attendance this evening, and we're going to begin our Q&A session now. It looks like we already have some questions coming in, so let me start with those. Again, my name is Jennifer Usher. I am with BL Companies, and I will be your MC this evening. So this came in from an anonymous person saying, hi, I am most concerned with the impact to exit 43 southbound ramp and whether people will still be able to utilize the ramp during construction. Let me see. I think I'm going to hand that over to Art DeCesar of A. DeCesar Associates to answer that question.
Thank you, Jennifer. Again, my name is Art DeCesar, and I'm with A. DeCesar Associates. With regards to maintenance of exit 43 southbound, Julie George did mention that the widening of I-95 to the north is about 40 feet, which will allow us to maintain the exit ramp during that stage of construction. And then once that stage is complete, the exit ramp will be maintained because of the widened highway. So at all times, there will be a through lane for the exit ramp, exit 43 southbound exit.
Thank you, Art. We appreciate that. And let's see, we have another question that came in. Looks like it came in from Nick Capella. And he is asking, will a sound barrier be included at exit 43 southbound? Who from the project team would like to take a stab at answering that question, perhaps? I will hand this over to Lou Batcho with the Connecticut Department of Transportation.
Thanks, Jennifer. Yes, as Jennifer mentioned, my name is Louis Batcho. I work in the consultant design bridge section at DOT. And to answer the question about the noise barrier, there are certain criteria that have to be met for us to do what we call a noise study to see if a noise barrier or noise reduction methods could be applied, could be implemented here or warranted. And a few of those, and we did respond to Mr. Coppola's question in an email, but I will touch on a few of the things that will make this requiring a noise study. But a few of the things of the construction of a new highway or new location, the addition of a through traffic lane, the addition of an auxiliary lane, and exceeding 2,500 feet in length. So as was presented earlier, we are adding an auxiliary lane between the on-ramp at 44 and the off-ramp at 43. So that would trigger a noise study, but the length of that ramp is only 2,000, I think less than 2,200 feet, which isn't quite up to the requirement of 2,500 feet. So for that reason, a noise study is not required or not warranted here. And additionally, the additional the lane is not bringing the noise closer to a receptor, to like a public building or a private residence. It's got a half the distance that exists now. That's also not happening. So because those two criteria aren't met, we aren't required to do a noise study, and therefore, unfortunately, noise barriers are not being implemented at this time. You know, if those criteria change and the ramp gets longer to meet that 2,500 foot criteria, or the distance is halved to the noise receptor, then of course we would do a noise study, and then that would determine if we would need to implement noise barriers at this location. But right now we are not. That's not the case.
Thank you, Lou. Much appreciated. Hopefully that answers Mr. Capella's question. If not, you can always reach us if you have additional questions. Just to remind everyone, via email or phone, that will be open until October 29th. However, the MS Teams live chat will actually close at the end of this session this evening. So just something to keep in mind. So we have a couple more questions that have come in. Looks like we have one that came in via email, and they are asking if the contractor will be working at night. Let's see, who could I'm going to actually, thank you. I'm going to pass that off to Julie with A to Caesar Associates.
Thanks, Jennifer. It is anticipated that contractor will be working at night. There is work to do over the railroad, and that until it's protected, that'll be restricted to the wee hours of the night between 12 p.m. and 5 a.m. likely.
Thank you very much, Julie. And I see another question actually came in that's of similar nature. So maybe, Julie, you could help answer this one as well. This came in via phone, and this person is asking, will there be a lot of construction noise?
Yeah, there will likely be noise related, particularly to the bridge construction. There are limitations that are provided, and that will be part of the RFP in terms of noise maximums. As Lou pointed out, there's understanding there's not a lot of receptors here, so we would expect that shouldn't be a problem.
Thank you again, Julie. I appreciate that. Okay, so we have some more questions coming in. It looks like this is actually from an anonymous, was posted by anonymous, and they are asking, what are the potential impacts to watercourses or wetlands, and where are those areas located? Let's see, who could I'm going to go back to Julie. Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, and Tom, can you go back to the aerial view? There is a watercourse called Club Creek in this area. It is actually it originates at the bridge that crosses Route 122. It is not. It does not conveyed through that structure. It basically goes along this line and then ultimately out to West River. There is, we have been developing conceptual plans around impacts to the watercourses, and we've made sure that there is no impacts to the watercourses by providing a maximum slope limit or contractor access that we know is doable. Again, we're just going to put this in as a performance measure for the design build team. There are some wetlands, some fairly low quality wetlands in around directly underneath the bridge, and then some drainage ditches that are kind of to the north of the highway, just east of the railroad. But we will be getting permits for this work, and those are determined by maximum anticipated limits. But there's no impact to the watercourses or the floodplain.
Okay.
Permanent impacts.
That was great. Thank you, Julie. Let's see, some more questions are coming in. We will get to them as soon as we can here. We got the splash screen back up. So just again, there is your email address and phone number, as well as the opportunity to use MS Teams chat tonight to enter any of the questions or comments that you may have. So let's see, we have another question that came in from Anonymous, and it says, there are businesses and houses just under the part of I-95 by southbound exit 43. I'm assuming greater safety precautions will be taken around that part of the construction project. That is a great question, and let's see, who can I pass that off to? Let's see, from the project team. All right, I think I'm going to pass this off to Art of A to Caesar Associates.
Okay, Jennifer, I'd be happy to address that. And again, it ties into the maintenance of the exit ramp. The exit ramp is actually widened as a result of the operational lane. The exit ramp will be constructed in conformance with highway standards, as well as be protected with a railing and features such as that, as well as the widened shoulder. So the footprint of the improvements would not have an impact on existing properties or businesses. We don't believe.
Okay, thank you, Art. I appreciate that. Just keep on. We'll give everyone just some more time to enter in their questions or comments. And again, just reminding everyone, you can send in your questions or comments through email or phone that are up on your screen. Also, I'll just take an opportunity to ask everyone, if you do have a few minutes following this meeting, we would really appreciate if you would fill out the short survey that is located at surveymonkey.com. A link to that survey will be posted at the end of this presentation. It can also be found on the project webpage that you see at the bottom there. It really does help us kind of perfect our public outreach efforts, so we would greatly appreciate that. Let's see, looking to see if there's any other questions that have come in. Oh, here we go. We have a question that came in through email, and it is asking, when was the bridge last inspected? Who could I hand that over to? Perhaps Tom Beckman or Quinn Duffy with BL Companies. Would you be able to take that?
I got it, Quinn. Sorry, Jennifer.
Thank you.
This is Tom Beckman with BL Companies. The conditional bridge assessment is completed every 2 years on all the bridges in Connecticut by the Connecticut Department of Transportation. This particular bridge was last inspected March 4th of 2021.
Thank you. Very good. Okay. Let's see. Another question came in through the phone asking, this is a good question. Will any city funding be required? And let's see, maybe someone from the Department of Transportation, I could hand that over to. Lou, would you like to take that? Thank you. Lou Baccio with the Department of Transportation.
Thanks, Jennifer. Yes, that's a good question, and the answer is no. No, city funding will not be used on this project at this point. It's 100% state funding, and again, that may change to. We may try to leverage some federal funds if they can become available. But at this point, no city funds will be used, or will they be used in the future? It's either going to be all state or a percentage of state and federal funds.
All right, great. Thank you. Appreciate that, Lou. And we have another question, another good question coming into this evening. We have someone who is asking, what is design build? That is a fantastic question. I'm going to actually hand that over to Rick Prescott of DOT.
Thank you, Jennifer. You can hear me okay?
I can, thank you.
All right, great. Yeah, again, Rick Prescott with the Alternative Contracting Group and the Office of Construction for the Connecticut DOT. So design build is a different project delivery method where the CTDOT hires a contractor, teams with a design firm, and using best value approach that accounts for contractors and designers' qualifications, price, and a technical approach. This contractor then completes the final design of the project and builds the project based on that final design. The C2DOT provides the base technical concept, the BTC documents, and that was described earlier in this presentation, and other project requirements that explains what the C2DOT wants to be built and the criteria that the contractor is to follow to design and build the project. I hope this answers your question, and you're welcome to follow up with any clarifications.
Thank you, Rob. And let's see, just looking for some more questions. I just want to say it looks like that we had received a question earlier. It was actually a second question from Mr. Capella, and it doesn't seem to be up there anymore. So if you are still on and you would like an answer to that question or have a comment, please, if you wouldn't mind just resubmitting it. We would greatly appreciate that. Okay, and we have another question coming in through email. Looks like asking if this bridge is safe to drive on. And maybe I could hand that back over to Tom Beckman since he was talking about the latest inspection report.
Yes, Jennifer. We do want to emphasize that the bridge is perfectly safe to drive on. There's no concern with that.
Thank you, Tom. Yeah, and I'll just kind of elaborate a little bit more on that. With the department's program as it pertains to our public infrastructure within the state of Connecticut, they do basically do inspections on all of the bridges that are state-owned, a minimum of every 2 years. So the idea is that we are looking at this bridge before it becomes such a hazard that it would be unsafe to drive on. That is why we're looking at it, a little bit more into, earlier on, so that we can come up with a design essentially to replace it, not only for the structural safety, but as well for the capacity issues in that area. So it's all part of the state's program. All right, we'll see if we have any more questions. I do want to just thank everyone for attending tonight's presentation, taking some time out of your own personal life here just to hear about the project. These are really great questions. It really does help us as we're moving forward in the design of the project, just to understand what the community is looking for and potential concerns. So just want to say how much the project team really appreciates that. And it looks like we have another question that came in asking when is construction anticipated to start, and that came in via email. Let's see, who would like to take that question? All right, can I hand that over, perhaps someone with A to Caesar Associates? Julie, thank you.
Yeah, construction is anticipated to begin in fall of 2023. Yeah, thanks for getting that slide back up.
There we go, thank you. Appreciate it, sorry, I wasn't watching the slides there. All right, great. All right, we have another question that just came in through email, and they are asking if rail service will be impacted by the project. Perhaps I could hand that off to Quinn Duffy with BL Companies. Thank you, Quinn.
Thank you, Jennifer. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, loud and clear.
All right, great. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. As Jennifer mentioned, my name is Quinn Duffy. I'm with BL Companies. I'm the utility and rail coordinator for this project, and that is a great question. It's a great question for public trans users and just in general. So in order to facilitate these construction activities, we will require track outages for Metro North. These are anticipated to be during off-peak hours. I think Julie had alluded to this earlier, that construction would mostly be happening, at least over the railroad portion of the structure, at night. So these outages would be during off-peak times, and we do not anticipate that they will actually impact the rail services at all. So at this point, we are in the clear for continued rail service.
Thank you, Quinn. And Quinn is our utility and railroad coordinator for this project, so appreciate that. And looks like we have another question that just came in from Anonymous asking, why is this project design build and not DBB? Could I hand that over to Rick again from DOT?
Sure, Jennifer, I'll answer that. So yeah, design bid build is basically where the DOT would design a project, and then they'd put the documents out to bid, and contractors would bid the project, and then based on low bid, the project would be built by a contractor that had the low bid. Design build is a different delivery method, and so so the question. Wait, what was the question? It was basically, why are we using design build? Was that the question?
I think that is what the person was asking, was maybe perhaps why we're going with design build delivery method in lieu of more of the traditional design bid build.
Okay, yeah, so under the Connecticut General Statute, the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation is authorized to use alternative project delivery methods for projects to be built. And design build is one of these alternative project delivery methods. So the Office of Construction and that I work in has a process in place to evaluate a project to determine if design build is suited for a particular project. This process was used for this job in West Haven, and it was determined to be well suited for design build. And that's based on project risks and constraints and goals of the job. So with that, the next step was to receive the commissioner's approval, and which was received. So at that point, the Connecticut DOT Office of Construction and Design sections would begin development of the documents to deliver the project as design build. I hope that's a brief narrative. I hope that helped answer that question. And obviously we can follow up with any other questions that are asked.
Thank you, Rick. Yeah, absolutely. If that person has additional questions or would like some additional information on that, please feel free to use the email or phone and leave a message there, and we will be happy to follow up with you afterwards. So, but great question. A lot of different delivery methods out there, and I think the state is just using, what they can and what they have at their disposal to basically deliver this project in the best manner they're able to. So this is a great opportunity for a design build. And let's see, another question just came in via phone. They are asking, where will the contractor place his equipment? Let's see, that's a great question. Who could take that one? Oh, you know what? Thank you. I'm gonna turn this over to Julie of A to Caesar Associates.
Yeah, we don't know exactly where the contractor will stage his equipment, but there is plenty of area, particularly near the bridge, where there'll be a lot of need for material. There is quite a bit of right-of-way in that area, so we would expect that would be a good staging area.
Thank you, and I'll add to that too. We are expecting that we will not have any right-of-way impacts. That being that we will not need necessarily construction easements or any impacts to property right now. That's what we're anticipating. So, if that was the question, if it would be outside of the right-of-way, we're hoping that won't be. So, let's see. All right, that's answered, and just see if we have a few more questions. Any questions coming in? Oh, this is great. We have this is fantastic. Another phone question via phone. And this person is asking, will this project require an environmental impact evaluation? And perhaps I could turn that over to Kevin with the DOT OEP.
Hi, yeah, I can certainly answer that question. This is Kevin Fleming from the department's Office of Environmental Planning. So an EIE is really only required in two instances. The first being if the project is a type of project that's listed in our environmental classification document. And currently there are only 3 of those types of projects that apply to DOT, the first being a new expressway, second would be a new rail facility, and third would be a new exclusive bus facility like the Connecticut Fast Track. And obviously, as you can see, none of those apply to this particular project. And then second, an EIE would be required if we go through the scoping process and then determine if the project will significantly affect the environment. So for this project, we conducted an early preliminary environmental screening, and nothing really jumped out that would scream any significant impacts. But keep in mind that we do have to wait until the scoping period concludes, and then we consider all comments submitted during the scoping period prior to making that determination. But at this point, it does not look like an EIE will be needed, but like I said, we do have to wait until the scoping period concludes to actually make that determination. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Kevin. Let's see, we got another question that came in through phone, just asking if, I'm guessing this means the project team, but have you met with the city to discuss the project? Let me turn this over to Tom Beckman with BL Companies.
Thank you, Jennifer. And this is a good question, and we do just want to say yes, the state has met a few times with the town to discuss this project as it's developed, and we'll continue to meet with the city as the project moves forward into preliminary and final design with the design build team.
All right, thank you, Tom, much appreciated. Yep, and all of that coordination will continue throughout this entire process. So let's see, I'm just going to take a moment to take a break. Again, I just want to remind everyone that you can reach out to us via email or phone. Those will both be open for the next couple weeks, that is until October 29th. Additionally, obviously, we have the MS Teams chat going. If you are utilizing YouTube to watch us this evening, you will have to send your questions or comments, should you have them, by email or phone. Those are the only two ways you can reach us through the YouTube, but again, they'll be open for a couple weeks. Additionally, if you're looking for more information regarding this project, you can visit the project website that's listed there at the bottom of your page. And let's see if we can go back to the question and answer session. All right, let's see what we have coming in. All right. No, I don't see any questions at this point. I will take just this opportunity while we're waiting for some more questions or comments to come in. I want to make sure we're giving everyone adequate time to present those and get those typed in, especially in this format. So again, thank you everyone for taking some time out of your evening to join us here and learn more about this project. It's a very important project, one of the bigger projects that CONDOT has in front of them right now. So we much appreciate it. Oh, and we do have another question that just came in. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that was a previous question and that had just gotten answered. Okay, we're all set with that. I'd like to remind everyone also, we are doing all these public outreach efforts right now virtual due to the pandemic, and we are doing our best to get this information out to you as well as be able to receive your questions, address those, and consider any concerns that you may have. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a couple minutes to fill out a short survey, that can be found at www.surveymon.key, which is surveymon.com/r/VYWM7K. Oh, sorry. Oh, actually, it's up there. And I apologize. I see it's actually .com/r/PCHLXQ2. But again, if you don't mind just taking a few minutes to take that survey, it would really help us out in future public outreach efforts, make sure that we're getting this information out to you in a way that, you know, is easy for you to engage with. So thank you very much. And, oh, and thank you. We've had a couple of the project team members. I greatly appreciate it, putting that in the chat box. So you should be able to see that. All right, let's see. It doesn't look like we have any more questions coming in, but I do want to make sure that we do address Mr. Capella's second question. So maybe I could turn this over to Lou Baccio, who I think saw it for a little bit there.
Thanks, Jennifer. Yeah, I don't want to exclude. I hope Mr. Capella doesn't think we deleted on purpose, but I do recall the question before it was lost. And I think he was asking, you know, have we ever been on First Avenue below the bridge? And personally, I have not. But I think what you're trying to get at, Mr. Capella, is that right now, I'm sure noise is very, very loud right now. And I'm sure it's, since the bridge was first built and traffic has increased on I-95 every year, I'm sure noise has gotten worse and worse. But unfortunately, like I mentioned earlier, just because noise increased based on the volume of traffic, that's not a criteria for us to perform a noise study. If that was the case, we'd be doing quite a bit of noise studies throughout the whole, anytime we touch a bridge in the States. So unfortunately, it doesn't seem like a fair way to assess it, but that's the way we do this. If the noise there's no noise barrier there now, and traffic has increased over the years, and noise has increased, which I'm sure it has here. I don't deny that, but just those reasons don't, in and of itself, don't allow us to perform, or don't require us to perform a noise study to see if noise barriers are warranted. It has to meet those prior criteria that I mentioned. Again, if we determine that our lane is longer and it meets that criteria, then certainly we would do a noise study to determine if barriers would be warranted, or if we more than half the distance to a receptor, to a house, to a place of business. But unfortunately, that's not the case right now, and that's why we would not do a noise study at this point. Like I said, I don't deny that noise is heavy there, or very high there, but that reason alone does not require us to do a noise study. So I hope I was probably going on a little bit longer than I should have, but and Mr. Capella, please feel free. You can contact us later if you want to talk about it. You can reach me in my office or my email. We'd be happy to discuss it further. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you, Lou. Appreciate you taking the opportunity to answer Mr. Capella's questions. And yeah, please feel free to reach out to us should you have any questions. So it looks like I have not seen any questions come in recently. So again, that survey is posted in the chat. So please utilize it if you can just take a few minutes. And again, the email and phone will be open for another 2 weeks until October 29th, should you think of anything else later on. But we'd just like to thank you all for attending tonight's presentation. And, as mentioned, we are just in the preliminary design phase of this project. So we were just looking to engage the public and give everyone an opportunity to ask their questions and, make their comments. And so their concerns are heard and considered as we move forward. So thank you again. Everyone's time is much appreciated. Have a good evening.